Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Jaya Radha Shama Sundar Radha Shama Sundar Radhe Jaya Radha Shama Sundar Radha Shama Sundar Radhe Jaya Gaurani Tai Jaya Gaurani Tai Jaya Gaurani Tai Jaya Gaurani Tai Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Gaura Premanande. Thank you, Ramchandra Prabhu, for that introduction. I'd like to offer my obeisances to everyone assembled here. If you've come on a beautiful Sunday evening to see Krishna, you must be very special to Krishna. So my humble obeisances to all of you to come and see a beautiful Sri Sri Radha Shyam Sundar and to hear stories about them. So, today I got a very nice verse from Ramana Krishna Prabhu, and I shall speak a little about that, if this moves. This is from Bhagavad Gita, verse 2.56. So I'll say it a couple of times first, and then we'll go around the room, and anybody else wants to say it, please chant, okay? Dukkeshva anudvigna mana sukheshu vigata spraha vitaraga bhaya krodha stita dhir muni ruchyate. Dukkeshva anudvigna sukheshu vigata vitaraga bhaya krodha stita dhir muni Dukkeshva anudvigna mana sukheshu vigata spraha vitaraga bhaya krodha stita dhir muni ruchyate. Sukheshu vigata spraha Dukkeshva anudvigna mana sukheshu vigata spraha Vitaraga bhaya krodha stita dhir muni uchyate. Prabhuji's. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. One who is not disturbed in mind, even amidst the threefold miseries, or elated when there is happiness, and who is free from attachment, fear, and danger, is called a sage of steady mind. Wonderful, wonderful verse. There's a lot to talk about, and I am going to try and stay within my time limits. The purport. The word Muni means one who can agitate his mind in various ways for mental speculation without coming to a factual conclusion. It is said that every Muni has a different angle of vision, and unless a Muni differs from other Munis, he cannot be called a Muni in the strict sense of the term. Nasa vrishi ryasya matam na bhinnam. Mahabharat, Vanaparva 313.117. But a Sthitadhir Muni, as mentioned herein by the Lord, is different from an ordinary Muni. The Sthitadhir Muni is always in Krishna consciousness, for he has exhausted all his business of creative speculation. He is called Prashanta Nishesha Manorathantara, Stotra Ratna 43, or one who has surpassed the stage of mental speculations and has come to the conclusion that Lord Shri Krishna or Vasudeva is everything. Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. He is called a Muni fixed in mind. Such a fully Krishna conscious person is not at all disturbed by the onslaughts of the threefold miseries, for he accepts all miseries as the mercy of the Lord, thinking himself only worthy of more trouble due to his past misdeeds, and he sees that his miseries by the grace of the Lord are minimized to the lowest. Similarly, when he is happy, he gives credit to the Lord, thinking himself unworthy of the happiness. He realizes that it is due only to the Lord's grace that he is in such a comfortable condition and able to render better service to the Lord. And for the service of the Lord, he is always daring and active and is not influenced by attachment or aversion. Attachment means accepting things for one's own sense gratification, and detachment is the absence of such sensual attachment. But one fixed in Krishna consciousness has neither attachment nor detachment because his life is dedicated in the service of the Lord. Consequently, he is not at all angry when his attempts are unsuccessful. Success or no success, a Krishna conscious person is always steady in his determination. So, going back to the English translation, one, he is not disturbed in mind even amidst the threefold miseries, or elated when there is happiness, and who is free from attachment, fear, and anger is called a sage of steady mind, not a stage of seedy mind. Sage of steady mind. So this verse, let me give you a little background on this, right? All of us have read the Bhagavad Gita in some form or place. In the past, when devotees put garlands on the speaker, there was always this thing that, this is what I've heard and I want to share it with you, that immediately when you take it off, it kind of shows your humility. People say, they don't want to wear the garland, they want to take it off. But I don't feel like that. I feel so special when I wear this garland because it's come all the way from their feet, and just wearing it makes me feel that I'm sitting here talking about the Lord because, I have their permission. This garland gives me the permission. So I just love to keep this garland around me when I speak. Thank you. So the background to this, right? This is 2.56. So it's Bhagavad Gita chapter 2, the verse is 56. So in chapter 1, Arjuna, they're all there, the two armies are there, and Arjuna tells Krishna, his charioteer, please take me to the center of the field because I want to see who my opponents are. I want to see who has come to fight with us on the Kaurava side. So Krishna takes him to the middle of the battlefield, and all of a sudden Arjuna sees his family, his cousins, his teachers, his grandfathers, people who he's respected and all that. And then there's a big conversation that goes on at the beginning, and at the end of chapter 1, Arjuna casts aside his bow and arrow, and he sits on the middle of the chariot with his hand in his head and doesn't want to fight. So chapter 2 begins with this state of Arjuna, and basically, Krishna saying, Arjuna saying that he doesn't want to fight, and Krishna says, what is wrong with you? What has come upon you? So this conversation goes on, and then in 2.7, which is the turning point of the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna actually turns to Krishna and says, now I surrender unto you as my guru, please tell me what to do, because he's so bewildered. And that is when the whole Bhagavad Gita, it pivots, literally pivots, because now Arjuna has accepted him as a guru, and then Krishna takes on the role of a guru and starts explaining to him. So chapter 2 is basically divided into 4 parts. The first part is where Arjuna's further doubts and surrender. And then Krishna explains about the soul from 2.11 to 2.31. Fantastic explanation of the soul, which is the consciousness of the Bhagavad Gita, right? And then he talks about Karma Yoga, what Arjuna should do as a Kshatriya. And then he talks about Bhakti Yoga or Jnana Yoga. So he says, either you fight because you're the soul, or you fight because of Karma Yoga, or you fight because of Jnana Yoga. He gives him all these permutation and combinations, and he says basically you should fight. And then he says devotional service frees you from bondage in the material world. So chapter 2 is a very interesting chapter. It's the second longest chapter, and it's basically, Bhurijana Prabhu calls it the table of contents. But it's actually also the summary of the Bhagavad Gita. Everything that's in chapter 2 is elaborated further in the other chapters. So I remember this a few years ago. We were making a financial presentation, and they obviously had to get a McKinsey consultant, if you please. So the guy comes to us, and we make a presentation in whatever format, and we show it to him, and he's saying, no, this is not the way to do it. The McKinsey way of doing it it's called the pyramid format, right? So he's saying the McKinsey way of doing it, which you actually pay $35,000 to learn, is not the pyramid, but it's the inverted pyramid. And I remember the story that he tells us. He's like, so the inverted pyramid, this is the way to do it now, is at the beginning of the presentation. So the way we had it was like, we said, if you give us 10 new employees, if you give us a lab, if you give us this, then we will generate so much more revenue in the next 5 years, right? It was a midterm plan for 5 years. So he says, no, that's not the way it's done. The inverted pyramid says basically, and he said, let me give you an example. The way he explains it is that it's an inverted pyramid, so all the meat is on the top. He says, just imagine if I go to a girl and if I tell the girl, I want to marry you, and then he says, I want to marry you because we can get our green card together, we can get our mortgage together, one of us pays the insurance bills, blah, blah, blah. That's how it is. That's how the world works, he says. You start out the presentation by saying what it is all about. I want to marry you. Or in the old days, we would say, hey, I'm in love with you. I think we're compatible and this and that. Why don't we get married? Right? So that was the old way of doing it. But now the new way is that I want to marry you, blah, blah, blah. And I'm looking at him and I'm like, maybe you did read chapter 2 of the Bhagavad Gita, because this is exactly what chapter 2 tells us. Krishna starts off by saying, you are the soul. Stop identifying yourself with the body. Start with that, and then he breaks it all down. All right? So that is just to give you a picture of what chapter 2 is about. Beautiful chapter. So then finally, Krishna, the last section is that Bhakti Yoga. Krishna tells him about, talks to Arjuna about why he should fight on the basis of Bhakti Yoga, right? He's giving him all these logical reasons as to why he should fight. Then at the end of this, when after Krishna has explained this, now Arjuna asks him, right? So Arjuna says, Arjuna vacha sthita prajnasya ka bhasha samadhistasya keshava sthita dikim prabhasheta kemashita vrajeta kim. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Arjuna said, O Krishna, what are the symptoms of one whose consciousness is thus merged in transcendence? How does he speak? What is his language? How does he sit? And how does he walk? Right? So Krishna is saying, do Bhakti Yoga. Do your conditional duty with Bhakti Yoga at the center of it. So obviously Arjuna is asking, what are the symptoms of a person who's like that? How do I identify a person like that? So there are two reasons behind this, right? One is that not only that Arjuna wants to know the symptoms of that person, how he looks, but it also, on the other hand, it tells us that it shows us what we can aspire to be when we follow the path of Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, right? So these are the symptoms of a person who's already in transcendence, but these are also characteristics and traits for us to aspire to, for us to follow. What is one of the things that Srila Prabhupada says? Follow, right? Don't imitate, follow. So these traits will say that this is what we can follow and aspire to be. So here this is very, very important. Theta pragnya. If there's anything there are two things that I want you to take home from today. One is the word Sthita Pragnya, and there's another picture that I'll show you at the end. Two things, right? Sthita Pragnya. What does Sthita Pragnya mean? Sthita means steadily fixed up, and Pragnya means consciousness. Okay? Sthita Pragnya. He does not look for happiness or pleasure outside of himself because he knows all the answers are within him. That is a Sthita Pragnya. Steady, calm, and fixed in consciousness. Okay? That is one of the symptoms of someone who's fixed in transcendence. So, why does one want to enjoy outside, right? We're forever looking, I need to go on a vacation here. This vacation wasn't that great. Maybe I'm going to go to Aruba next time. That isn't great. Maybe I'm going to go to one of these remote Greek islands. Restaurants, there's always a challenge. I mean, at my workplace, they always, did you try this place or did you try that place? There's always a craving for trying something more. There's always, but do you think they ever get satisfied and say, this is it. This is my ultimate vacation. I'm never going to go back anywhere else because I am so satisfied with my vacation. That never happens, right? You're always, always, always craving for more. And this is, if you have seen the Bhagavad Gita and seen this beautiful, beautiful picture, it's because we allow the senses, which are like horses going in 5 different directions. But guess what? The answers are all within us. And this is what Krishna is trying to tell us, right? A Sthita Pragnya knows that. He knows that all the answers are within him. All the satisfaction is within him. He doesn't need to spread out and say, today I have to try these restaurants, or today I have to buy a bigger car, or tomorrow I have to buy a bigger house. There's no need for all that because the answers are within him. Satisfaction is within him. Okay? And we'll see how. So here I put this picture up. This is one of the reasons I wanted to project this. This is a story of this musk deer, right? The musk deer, a lot of it found in India, China and stuff like that. This is a Siberian musk deer. So what happens is the musk deer actually lets out a fragrance from secretes a fragrance from its glands. This fragrance is not a simple thing that you can recreate in your lab. It's a very, very exotic fragrance. So what happens is when it secretes it from its gland, the musk deer doesn't realize that the fragrance is coming from its own body, right? And this fragrance is driving the deer crazy. So he's running helter skelter, here, there, over, under, above, trying to see what is the source of this fragrance. The musk deer is running all over the place, doesn't realize that the fragrance is coming from its own body. And eventually, running hither, thither, not being able to find the source of it, the deer gets so exhausted that it falls and it dies. So this is so similar to us, right? We have all the answers within us. The soul is within us. Krishna is telling us, but yet we are always running here, running there, wanting this, craving that, because we think that is going to satisfy us. If I get a promotion, I think I'm going to be happier at my job. I'm the first culprit of that, believe you me. If I get a raise, I think I need a raise. I'm doing this research as to what do I need to project to my boss that I'm indispensable so that I can get a raise. No one is indispensable, right? So the answers are all within me, and reading this Bhagavad Gita helps us understand that. So, those who become devotees of the Lord, they develop all good qualities because the mind is engaged in the service of the Lord. And for those who are non-devotees, the mind is like wild horses going here and there looking for happiness. Exactly like that beautiful, beautiful picture that we have in the Bhagavad Gita. That's one of the first pictures when we go book distribution. That's one of the first pictures that we open and we show to people who are brand new to Bhagavad Gita, you know. And that is so enthralling to them because all of a sudden it makes sense. Because everybody does that, right? We're all craving for something, craving in the external. But the minute they see that, those beautifully painted horses, one has the big eyes, one has the big ears, they stop to think and they actually come into the tent and they say, okay, now I'm willing to learn how to meditate because they think we have some deep philosophy going on, which is the truth. So, this is my dear friend Lisa. She's 52 years old. She was divorced when her kids were young. 5 years ago, she decided to get married. It broke up. And guess what? She's dating another man again. So the question is, you ask Lisa, I mean, of course, I can't tell her, Lisa, you know, you're past 50, maybe you should go into Vanaprastha. She's not going to understand that. But then I'm like, is everything okay? She said, yeah, you know, third time lucky. I'm sure it's going to be all right this time. So they always feel that third time lucky. So she's actually going to go through this whole marriage thing because she thinks third time is going to be forever, you know, the forever story. Right? So it's like all of us. It's not just Lisa, it's us. All of us wanting something else, assuming that that next thing is going to give us happiness. So, why does Arjuna want to know the symptoms of someone in transcendence? Why? So the story goes that everyone has symptoms, right? You know, a rich person has symptoms. A diseased man, he's got fever, if he's got jaundice, he's got yellow eyes, he's got symptoms. So you basically identify that person and you say, oh, you know, you're rich or you're poor. And a foolish person, the moment they open their mouth, you really know, oh man, you know, this, basically, you know, they say that when you open your mouth, your intelligence shows up. But the other reason is that in this day and age, when we have all kinds of fake gurus, I shouldn't use the word fake gurus, in this day and age, when we have all kinds of people claiming to be gurus, this allows us to identify, are they for real or not? Right? By the symptoms of it, very clear symptoms, because Krishna says, Krishna says right here, is he a sthita prajna? The first thing is that is he a sthita? So that's one way of identifying. So Arjuna is asking, what are the symptoms? Because it will help us identify and not follow, like for instance, right? Again, going back to the book distribution, we're teaching them meditation. They're like, how much do I pay for this? So we're like, why? She's like, oh, I've gone to a TM, a trademarked TM Transcendental Meditation course, which cost me $900. So I feel a little cringy. I'm like, should I even tell her it's free? If she's willing to pay $900, maybe we should ask her to make a nice check, you know, for ISKCON. But immediately, when you know the symptoms of what a devotee should look like, immediately you know TM that costs $900 is something really fishy about that. It allows us to identify and to alienate these kind of things, fake gurus, right? So then how to identify a person in divine consciousness? So Krishna spends the last section of chapter 2 from verse 54 to verse 72 in identifying a sthita prajna. Better? No? Okay. So so there's two ways to look at the question, right? One is literally, how does he walk? How does he sit? So you can say, oh, he sits with his spine straight, he sits on a pusha grass, you can do all that. But that is one aspect of it maybe. But the other actual aspect is, how does he react, right? Like let's say, for instance, someone comes and just pushes you. You would be like, what's wrong with this person? If you're calm, or you could start freaking out. What is wrong with you? Who do you think you are? Pushing me around, this, that, or whatever. Another person comes by and says, oh, you're wearing such a lovely sari, you're such a beautiful person. And then you're like, what a nice person that is, right? So immediately you go from being this maniac, trying to scream at someone who pushed you, to this really lovely, courteous, kind person because someone said nice to you. See how we change, right? But a sthita prajna basically understands that both situations happen for some reason and he reacts very differently, which we'll talk about in a bit. So Arjuna is asking not only how does he sit and how does he walk, but see, how does he react? And that is what differentiates a Sthita Prajna, and which is what we'll talk about in a few. So a Sthita Prajna is not situated in mind, but in the soul, right? He finds satisfaction only within himself, and the soul is only happy when it is serving the Lord. And why is that? Because the soul is a part and parcel of the Lord. And guess who validates this? Right here. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.6. Let's say this verse together, because this verse, if you have not heard it before, believe you me, if you keep coming to the center, you'll hear it over and over and over again. Beautiful, beautiful verse. Okay? So, Savai Pumsham Paro Dharmo Yato Bhakti Radhokshaje Ahai Tuki Apratihata Yayatma Suprasidati. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The supreme occupation, dharma, for all humanity is that by which men can attain to loving devotional service unto the transcendental Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self. Okay? So, what is this eternal dharma that we are talking about? Just yesterday, someone was mentioning, oh, we are not Hindus, we are Sanatan Dharma, right? The Sanatan Dharma is the highest dharma, which is service with pure love to the Lord. And service to the Lord is done without interruption and it's unmotivated. Now, this is the thing that gets to people. They're like, oh, you Krishna conscious people, y'all are such a cult, you know. What do you mean, think of Krishna 24 hours a day? Do I not have a job? How do I maintain my family? How do I put food on the table? 24 hours, think of Krishna, always remember Krishna, never remember Krishna. What kind of a thesis is that you ask us people to follow? But it's really easy. Look at everyone around you, every single person in this room, right? Every single person. We all have jobs. We are all mothers and fathers or parents, or, eventually will be at some time. We all have to put food on the table. We all have to take care of our elders. And at the same time, we are all devotees, right? And how do we identify ourselves as devotee? Because while we were cooking, we made sure that we made prasadam for Krishna. While we were, when we made the prasadam, we offered it. There was kirtan playing in the house. So it's really simple to do that. Always remember Krishna, never remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. That is Sanatan Dharma, that whatever you do, you always keep Krishna in your consciousness. That is what Krishna consciousness is all about. So then there'll be questions like, oh, but when I'm at work, I'm so focused on coding that I'm never going to forget. Even at that point, let's say you break for lunch, right? You're coding and you break for lunch. You make sure that you offer the food, you're putting prasadam in your mouth. That is one way of remembering Krishna. You remember that you're not supposed to eat meat. In the corporate world, you're going out for lunches and dinners. Everyone else is having alcohol. Not having alcohol is considered, it's considered not a part of, what's the word?
Abnormal.
There you go, dumb, abnormal, right? But when we don't, as devotees, when we don't drink alcohol, it's for us a way to not forget Krishna, right? We know that we are devotees of Krishna. This is not what you meant for us. So it's easy enough to always remember Krishna and to never forget Krishna. When we want to listen to different kinds of music, imagine the number of kirtaniyas that we have right now. Everyone has got albums out there, beautiful kirtans, and seeing beautiful things, seeing the deities, and of course reading Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita may seem a little philosophical, but the Srimad Bhagavatam is glorious. It's full of stories. They're fascinating stories. I'll be telling you three stories today, small ones, okay? So, all the activities to be dovetailed to Lord. Liquor and cinema. There was a beautiful story about this devotee who used to come drunk and, reeking of alcohol and stuff like that. Srila Prabhupada never ever said, don't come in because you're an alcoholic or because you're drunk or whatever. He said, when you're drinking the alcohol, just imagine, oh, Krishna, what a rasa you've made. Who did you give the intelligence to brew this alcohol exactly the way it was? Put Krishna even in that. Again, when we take books to the alcohol store, they'll say, nahi, yahan pe mat rakhna, ye to, he won't say gandhi jagah, because obviously, he's running that store, but he'll say, no, the Bhagavad Gita will be impure over here. But we say, no, it's vice versa. The Bhagavad Gita will purify this place. The Bhagavad Gita is so powerful that will purify your alcohol store, not vice versa. Your alcohol store is not going to demean it or dirty it. So again, Sthita Prajna, right? The real symptoms of devotee is when you see them getting full pleasure in serving the Lord. Krishna says that. He is completely aloof from outwardly pleasure and he experiences full pleasure within himself because he serves unmotivated and uninterrupted service to the Lord. So we go back to this unmotivated and uninterrupted. To become a Sthita Prajna, we aspire to become a Sthita Prajna. So when people say, okay, I'm going to go every Sunday to the temple. I'm going to put, okay, Krishna, $100. It's, I need this. I need to pass in my exam, $100 for you. And if I get married to this girl, 108 coconuts for you. Krishna says, even that is okay. As long as you come to me. Give me the 108 coconuts. Give me the $100 as long as you come to me. So we shouldn't be afraid when we say, oh, I'm not a Sthita Prajna. Oh, I'm here and I'm there. I need to be this before I go to the temple. No, it's actually the reverse. Krishna says, come in any shape, state or form. Just come to me. I will purify you. That's what he says in chapter 10. I will purify you. Right? That is the beauty of Krishna consciousness. But Krishna is saying what a Sthita Prajna is because we know what to aspire for. He talks to us about the spiritual world in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So we know where we are headed. It's not like that there's a big God sitting there with white hair holding the whole entire universe on his shoulder. No, he explains it to us. We know the color of his complexion. We know what he likes to eat. He describes it in full detail so that now we can picture it and we can aspire to go there. What does Prabhupada tell us? Prabhupada tells us there's only one thing that you need to do. Go back to Godhead. So one of his devotees asked him, oh Srila Prabhupada, isn't that selfish? I'm a devotee and I want to spread Krishna consciousness to everyone. Srila Prabhupada said, yeah, that's enough of your humility. You focus on going back home to Godhead. Because what happens in knowing where our goal is, in walking that path is so powerful that it will allow us to become compassionate and generous, and it will allow us to take everyone else along with us there. It's not that we decide, oh, I have read the Bhagavad Gita, so I am going to preach and I'm going to come back life after life to help everyone. No. Focus on going back, and these are tools for us to help us go back to Godhead. Knowing what a Sthita Prajna behaves like, knowing how he acts, knowing what are his attributes will allow us to aspire to be like that, right? We are always idolizing people. We always are like, oh, I want to be like this basketball player, or I want to be like this, or I want to be slim like the supermodel who's walking the ramp. We always aspire. But this, a Sthita Prajna, is what we should aspire to be like. Okay? So, how does he speak? Hidden meaning is how does he respond to different situations. He's not affected by happiness, in distress, and in distress he does not lament. Okay? So again, how does he speak? It's not that he speaks with a Sanskrit accent or he speaks with a Latin accent. No. How does he react when someone says something maybe rude to him, or how does he react when someone compliments him? Either compliments him really or flatters him, or just says something rude to him. How does he react to that speech? That is the hidden meaning. That's what the Acharya says, the hidden meaning behind this question. And then the next one is Dukheshu, threefold miseries, Adhyatmika, Adi Daivika and Adi Bhautika. How does he respond when attacked by these three? What is Adhyatmika? Adhyatmika, the problems that the misery that we give ourselves. How do we give miseries to ourselves? We are our worst enemies, right? You all agree? Our mind is the worst enemy. We drive ourselves insane. Basically, if our mind stopped speaking to us, we would all lead a very, very happy and content life. So Adhyatmika are the miseries that we cause ourselves. Adi Daivika, Devi. So this is Mother Nature, right? Your tsunamis and your hurricanes and your torrential rains, miseries caused by Adi Daivika. And Adi Bhautika are miseries caused by other human beings, other species. A mosquito bites you, a dog bites you, any of that. Okay, so how does how does a Sthita Prajna behave when he is attacked by these miseries? How does he respond? I think we all know the answer to this, right? Basically, he's tolerant. And what do you mean by tolerant? It's like, oh, okay, I am such a guru that I'm going to go sit in the forest. Let the rain fall on me. Let the snow fall on me. Nothing is going to happen. Is that what he does? No. Because then Sthita Prajna is very intelligent, right? What he tries to do is that he thinks, because your mind is so powerful, he says, if Krishna, you have given me this unfortunate situation, it's because there's a sign. It's because you want me to come to you. A devotee always says that. Devotees with cancer, right? It's strange. Devotees with cancer say, oh Krishna, thank you for giving me the cancer because now I know I only have so many more days to live. Do any of us know how many more days we have to live? No. But a devotee who gets cancer say, great. Now I know I only have 6 months to live as per whatever the doctor tells you. I know I'm on stage 4. Devotees are like that. Because firstly, they don't fear death. That's the first thing that Krishna teaches you in chapter 2, right? Right there he teaches you. You're the soul, so don't worry about death. Your body will die, but your soul is eternal. So, devotees, yes, being tolerant is one thing, but just aspiring to be tolerant is not as easy as using your common sense and saying, okay, why did Krishna give me this? He gave me this because he has a reason for me to get this particular thing. Like for instance, cancer, like for instance, anything, a flood. Oh my goodness, why did I get a flat tire? You may have gotten a flat tire just so that there was someone speeding down Route 80 and Krishna wanted to protect you from that. That is how a devotee thinks. And in fact, a devotee says, oh Krishna, what you've given me is too little. Actually, I deserve a lot more. A lot more misery. That's how a devotee thinks. Perfect example, Arundhati Mataji, right? 80 something years old, gets into a terrible, terrible car accident. Poor thing is in physiotherapy for months on end and stuff like that. I just met her some time back and she's saying, Sab, meri karma se hi hua hai, but Krishna is so merciful, he brought me back here to the altar to dress him. Can you imagine that? That is how she talks. Her neck is bent like that. She walks like this. Non-stop she's at the altar doing her service. And she's saying, वो कृष्णा ने मेरी कर्मा की वजह से मुझे मिला, नहीं तो मुझे पता नहीं क्या होता, 3 महीने में मैं ठीक हो गई. Literal example. That is exactly how Arundhati Mataji talks. She's 80 plus. Okay? And then, if on the flip side, like you have miserable conditions, you also have fantastic situations, right? You have great situations. And at that time, you say Sthita Prajna or any devotee says, oh Lord, thank you for giving me this because you've given me so much more comfort. Now I can do something extra for you, right? This summer, my backyard is growing with beautiful, beautiful flowers. It's because of you that I've got all these flowers. Let me pluck a lot more and make garlands, not only for my own deities, but take it to the temple. That's how a Sthita Prajna does. Are these some things that we could aspire? Are these some things that we can follow? Or is it like too far out for us to even imagine to be? Yes? No? Kishan Prabhu, what do you think?
It's true, whatever you're saying is true.
Is it something easy that we can try to follow in those footsteps?
It's very easy.
There you go. Hari bol to Kishan Prabhu.
Very.
So he says, because of this comfort, I can now serve you very nicely, right? Because you've given me so much money, you've given me a nice warm house, I have a window with sunlight in it, I can grow Tulsi Maharani beautifully over there, right? This is how a devotee thinks. In the meanwhile, he continues his seva, and as a result, the Lord becomes very pleased and he can enter the spiritual world. Similarly, one who is faithfully executing his devotional service, despite all his difficulties, is very pleasing to the Lord. Right? There are many stories about the Goswamis executing their devotional service despite difficulties. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Brahma speaks a nice verse. He says, my dear Lord, I am simply awaiting your mercy. My suffering is all due to my sinful past. It is all my doing, nobody else's responsibility. In the meanwhile, I am patiently waiting for your mercy. And again in the Bhagavatam, we have the story of Queen Kunti, which is actually extracted, and we have a book, Teachings of Queen Kunti, where she says, oh Krishna, give me more misery. She says, oh my goodness, who can imagine that? But she says, give me more misery because that is the only way I keep remembering you over and over and over again. You're close to us, right? These are extremely exalted devotees. Living in Kali Yuga, yes, we can aspire, But it's okay if you don't aspire, because you pray to Queen Kunti and you say, Kunti Maharani, let me be at your feet. Show me how to be like you. Right? We are in Kali Yuga, so we should not demean ourselves and then beat ourselves up and say, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that, I'm so fallen. No, this is Kali Yuga. This is the inherent way this age was supposed to be. Be compassionate first with yourself, and naturally we'll see that all these wonderful qualities keep coming to us. So we come back to 2.56, which is where we started, and then we went around in circles and we came right back. So it's Dukkeshva Anudvigna Mana Sukheshu Vigatashpraha Vitaraga Bhaya Krodha Stita Dhir Muni Ruchyate. Then the other thing Arjuna asks is Vitaraga Bhaya Krodha. Right? Vita is what? This is Krishna is telling him. This is what a devotee does. Vita. Vita means free from. Raga means attachment. Bhaya, fear. Krodha, anger. So Krishna is telling him that the Sthita Prajna is free from attachments, fear and anger. Right? And we'll see some quick examples, right? So this is a quick story of Rantidev. We may think these are exalted personalities, and again, these give us examples for us to follow in their footsteps. So there's the story of King Rantidev. Ramchandra Prabhu just announced that fast breaking is at 10:49, right? So King Rantidev fasted for 48 days, right? 48 days he fasted. He was a king who said, I'm going to rule my kingdom the way Krishna wants me to. I'm not going to aspire to build my treasury and, make it a big thing, whatever comes. So he was very spiritual, and his kingdom was very spiritual. So after fasting for 48 days, he got some water and some eatables made with milk and ghee. When he sat down to break his fast, exactly at that time, a Brahmana came, and the Brahmana told him, I'm so hungry, I have not eaten anything for the last 48 days. Can you give me some of your food? So Rantidev says, absolutely. He takes off exact half of what he had and he gives it to the Brahmin. Again, when he sits down to break his fast, this time a Shudra comes. And the Shudra says, I have not eaten for many days and I'm hungry. So Rantidev says, no problem. He takes again half of what he has and he gives it to him. Immediately after that, some man with a bunch of dogs comes and says, I have not eaten, my dogs have not eaten, they've been barking, they're hungry and this and that. He says, no problem. He says, take. And he gives him everything that he has. Okay, because the man had so many dogs. Finally, there's a little bit of water that is left for him to break his fast. And exactly when he goes to break his fast, a Chandala comes. A Chandala is someone who is not only a meat eater, but who eats all kinds of terrible meats. Dog eaters they call actually. So they're very terrible meat eaters. So the Chandala comes, and then the Chandala says, I have not eaten anything for days. I'm so thirsty. Can I have something? So Maharaj Rantidev takes that water and he gives it to the Chandala. Right? So the point of the story here is that he's not attached. He's not eaten anything for days. He's a king. Basically, he could have said, oh, cook or whatever, make food for all these people. But he knew they were starving there and then at that point. So he took what he had and he gave it all away. No attachment, right? And obviously at that time, those 4 people who had come in those different forms were demigods, and they were very happy with him and they took him back to the spiritual world. The point here again is that as a king, he had many other facilities to give them what they wanted, but they were immediately hungry. He was not attached. He just gave it away. Okay? So that is attachment. Then there's the story of Bhaya. Prahlad Maharaj. Who does not know the story of Prahlad Maharaj? Everybody does, right? So everybody knows his father, Hiranyakashipu, made him go through fire and poison. I found these beautiful pictures over here. Put him under this elephant's leg, threw him in a snake pit. Was he afraid even once? No, absolutely not afraid. He was not afraid. So he is a perfect Sthita Prajna, like Krishna says. No fear. And then of course we have the story of Ambarish Maharaj and Durvasa Muni. A very nice story about Krodha. So what happened is, again, Ambarish Maharaj was breaking his fast. Right? He was sitting on the edge of the river breaking his fast. Exactly at that time Durvasa Muni comes. So now Durvasa Muni comes, Ambarish Maharaj gives him his obeisances and stuff like that, and he says, let's break fast together. So Durvasa Muni says, I need to go have a bath quickly. So he says, let me go into the river and have a bath. By the time he goes to the river, the fast breaking time was passing. So Ambarish Maharaj consulted with the other brahmanas over there. He consulted with them. He said, what should I do? I can't eat without feeding my guest first, but at the same time, this has been a pretty serious fast and they had to break it at that particular time. So the brahmanas advised him. They said, why don't you take a little bit of the charnamrita, because when you do that, at the same time, you wouldn't have offended your guest because you've not eaten anything. So he agrees and he takes a little bit of charnamrita and he breaks the fast. But Durvasa Muni is the personification of Krodha. He is so angry when he comes back and he finds out that Ambarish Maharaj has broken his fast while Durvasa Muni as a guest was not fed. Very, very angry. So now he's taken out his weapon, flaming, right? Furious. And he is going to kill Ambarish Maharaj. But what does Ambarish Maharaj do? He is just standing over there waiting to be killed, waiting to be destroyed. But guess who comes to protect him? If Ambarish Maharaj is standing quietly, who else is not standing quietly? Krishna. Krishna is not going to let his devotee just perish like that. He's just fasted like that. So what Krishna does is Krishna sends his Sudarshan Chakra. So Durvasa Muni sees that and he starts running. He's running away from the Sudarshan Chakra. He travels every nook and corner of the universe running away from the Sudarshan Chakra because he doesn't want to get killed. Eventually, he knows he's not able to get rid of it. So he goes all the way to Narayana and he says, please, please save me from this. And what does our dear friend Narayan say? He shrugged his shoulders. He said, you didn't offend me, so I can't forgive you. You have to go back to whoever you offended. The Sudarshan Chakra is coming because you offended Ambarish Maharaj. So Durvasa Muni goes right back to Ambarish Maharaj, who he wanted to destroy. He falls at his feet and he asks for forgiveness. And Ambarish Maharaj is like, no, please don't do that. Even at that time, Ambarish Maharaj is not angry. So in this story, we have a person who's really angry, goes through this whole drama of running around the universe with the Sudarshan Chakra chasing him. And you have a Sthita Prajna who is not angry. Right? So this is what Krishna is trying to tell us. That this is what a Sthita Prajna does. When you live the life of Bhakti Yoga, these are the characteristics that you begin to develop. You hear about these people. You associate with these people. You'll see so many devotees. So many devotees have so many wonderful, wonderful characteristics that you want to imbibe. So many wonderful characters. Right? Now, I said there's two words, right? One is Sthita Prajna and this picture. The Bhagavad Gita is so fascinating, actually. It's such a moving, touching book. In almost every chapter, there's a picture, there's an image, right? Now, Krishna says hearing is the most important part, but because we live in this fantastic world with, social media and information blasting us from everywhere, sometimes an image helps. Beautiful images. So in this chapter 2, the image is of a Sthita Prajna. I love this picture because when, especially like, for instance, I'll give you an example. If I'm driving and someone is cutting me off, I'm like ready to, chase that person and go in front of him and cut him. And I'm like, whoa, hold back. Tortoise. So you see what you do? You get in all your senses. You withdraw them inside. Such a beautiful picture. You withdraw, and this is in chapter 2 of the Bhagavad Gita. You withdraw your senses. You pull them all in because firstly, the answers are all within you. And secondly, all your limbs are not outside ready to, yell at someone or throw something at someone or ready to do anything else. This image, imagine this image. And, this image also helps because even during meditation, they say, oof, if you're angry in meetings, count to 10. No, we don't need to count to 10. We know something else that Krishna has given us. He's given us this beautiful image of this tortoise where he says, retract your limbs, bring them under your shell. Your shell will protect you. Your answers are within you. This is a picture I want you to take back. When we do chapter 5 has a beautiful picture of a lotus leaf with there's a drop of water on it where the water doesn't touch the leaf. Right, Mataji? Beautiful picture. And in chapter 7, Krishna has given us the image of a pearl necklace where he says, I am the string and all these pearls are strung around me. So the Bhagavad Gita, as much as it looks like, oh my goodness, 700 verses, goes on and on, 432 pages, but it's full of imagery. So this is the image for chapter 2. Okay, Sthita Prajna. This is where we are going. And guess who's this? The ultimate Sthita Prajna. Who else do we need? Right here. He was just here with us 50 years ago. He was right here. Right? Srila Prabhupada, the ultimate Sthita Prajna, all through. He was doing everything else that everyone did. Went to the printer, went here, went to restaurants to sit with these people to have tea. But all the time, his thing was, I have to follow what my Guru Maharaj told me. Right? That's all. Perfect example. Preach to the English speaking world, and when you have money, print books. That's all. Right? And that's all he did. And then he ended up getting 108 temples. Did he care about the fact that he had 108 temples? Was he proud when he said, Vrindavan is my residence, Bombay is my office, and Mayapur is where I worship? No. In that pride, there was humility. That is the Sthita Prajna that we all need to follow. Follow in Srila Prabhupada's footsteps, right? And this then basically allows me to segue beautifully into the BBT. You know, I cannot finish my lecture without talking a little bit about book distribution. You have to forgive me for that. But I do want to repeat, last time when we had the announcement that Ramchandra Prabhu made, the contest for the December marathon was done. And for those, how many people heard who won the contest? Oh, just a spattering of people. Okay. So we had a wonderful book marathon in December, and we had a contest. We said which family would distribute the most. So I will do the announcements in a minute, but what we are also doing is for this year, we are starting, the count has already begun from January, okay? So you can start from January, we're accumulating the counts for the full year, whichever family wins. Competition is nice, it keeps the excitement going. So the book counts, we've started ordering books, everything is done online. You can tell us, even if there are no books out here on the bookshelf, tell us, we'll order it for you. A beautiful team of people working behind. So for December marathon, just for December marathon, we had 2 third place winners. One was, there she is. Jagdishwar Prabhu and Alka Nandini Mataji. Oh, they're right there together. And Manini Radhika Mataji. Hari bol to both of them. Third place winners. Right? Our second place winner was Gopal Govind Prabhu and Shaili Mataji. And our first place winner was Dhananjay Krishna Prabhu and Jai Draupadi Mataji. Hari bol. Hari bol. And the wonderful thing is they have already started distributing books. I mean, they didn't stop at all from January. They're continuing to distribute books. Also, I want to tell you that book distribution is not just for certain people. It's for everybody. And believe you me, we are going to come after you. That's what it is. So if you're not going to volunteer, we are coming after you. We already have people who are going to go to doctors' offices. We have people who are going to go to motels. And we have libraries. If you have other ideas, tell us. Because when Maharaj, and even when the board meeting that we went for yesterday, when they heard the Sankirtan scores, they were so touched and they were so impressed. Basically, the scores speak it all. Okay, so thank you so much. If you have a question, I still think we have 2 minutes. If you have any questions. No questions? Such a nice, simple lecture I gave. Wonderful.
I have a question, but maybe a silly question.
No, nothing is silly.
So why do you refer Srila Prabhupada as A.C. Bhaktivedanta?
So it is Abhay Charana Bhaktivedanta. So Bhaktivedanta was the name that was given to him because of it's when you maybe you can explain it better.
It's a title.
It's a title.
Okay.
Yeah. And AC is Abhay Charan. He was born Abhay, but Abhay Charan was also his initiated name. So Abhay Charana AC Bhaktivedanta. So his Guru Maharaj was called Bhakti Siddhanta and Bhakti Vinoda. So they, it's the title that's given by the Swamis around you. We can't call him. When he came to America, people used to just call him Swami. But then later they realized it was not just Swami, he was Bhakti Vedanta. Such a beautiful title. AC Bhakti Vedanta.
Thank you.
That's it. Thank you so much for listening so patiently.